Hi guys, and welcome to day 16 of our watercolor advent calendar. So today we are taking the star theme, and I wanted to do it in some, a more traditional painting. So what I wanted to do is show you that if you are following along with these prompts this month, even though these are Christmas themed prompts, you will be able to take these skills and the things that you're learning here and use them throughout the year. So for example, we're taking this shoe and we are using the theme of stars, and we're going to add some star studs to the sort of wedge of the shoe. So I have an entire video about how to sketch these shoes, so I'm not going to go into much detail here. I will link that video below. It's actually over on the Heirloom Luxe channel. It's a couple of years old, but it's one of my favorite videos, and the results, I really loved the shoes that we created in that video, so I will link that to you up for you. And then today we're just going to talk about sort of the painting aspects of this shoe. So even though I am going in with colour here, we're doing a bit of a wet in wet application. So I'm starting with Smalt by Winsor & Newton, and I'm basically just used that to tint the water, and then I'm just wetting the entire surface, and then we're going back and dropping in more colour. So if I was doing this from scratch in a more finished polished piece, I would wet the entire surface and then go in with the colour and then glaze it, etc. But I am just saving time, and I know that I want to kind of wet it and have the colour in there and then continue dropping colour in, so that's the way I have done it to save a bit of time. And so now we are using the colour Indigo, Daniel Smith Indigo, and so I wanted a bit of a similar colour but a bit more striking for the front, and I want this to look almost as if it's a little bit of a velvet front to the shoe here, so like an Alberta Ferretti or an Emma Hope, something really beautiful, and then maybe with a beaded emblem on the front, or like an embroidered emblem. And so I do have on my Pinterest, Her Brave Heart, I have a whole folder for style, so you can also look in there for inspiration for these types of things, but I am just kind of making this up. One day I would love to create and make some shoes, but anyway, so we are just continuing to do the same thing we did on the back of the wedge, and we're just dropping in colour and then softening it together to blend it out more softly, but I still want to kind of leave some of that watercolory effect to look more like velvet. And then I'm going in here, and we are kind of doing a backwards and forwards motion here to create the ruffle. And you'll see here that where I want to drop a little bit more colour, or where I want the colour to pull and be a bit darker, I will drop a little bit more colour. So I'll go back, or I will stay there a bit longer and let a little bit more colour fall into that area to create these sort of shadows and folds along the ruffle. So you can see here I'm just putting a line down where the fold or the crease, in the fabric would happen on the ruffle, and then I go back in with a wet brush with no colour on it, and I just soften that out a little bit to create a bit more of a dimensional fold. So here I am getting indigo again, and I am going along to create the sole of the shoe, and I am just being very careful and just to create a tiny sole, and it also sort of brings the shoe together and finishes it off. Okay, so now we are getting to the fun part, and we are using these new watercolors. So my last video is about this little palette, and these watercolors are from Paint and Paper Studio. So I am using the Pacific Lagoon here. I used the Mermaid Lagoon for the stars, and it's just a really beautiful color shifting paint. And then here I am, so for the emblem at the front, I am using the Cote d'Azur violet, and you can get this from Colours of the Iron range. And then I am going to frame it with the Rose Gold from Paint and Paper Studio. Okay, so now we have the majority of the shoe blocked in. I go back and I'm using Roasted French Ochre by Daniel Smith, and I am just putting in a couple of shadow areas. So I'm trying to look at where that shadow might naturally fall on the shoe, and then underneath the shoe I am creating sort of a wet wash, and I am dropping in some Moonstone by Daniel Smith. It's like a pearlescent grey, and then like a soft one, and then I am dropping the Roasted French Ochre into that again to tie the colours and the composition together. So that is pretty much it for the painting today. I do go back off camera and do a little bit of work on the star studs. So I add in some indigo on the sides to sort of create some 3D depth, and then I add in some Sennelier silver ink to create the highlights. And I could probably have gone back in and done a little bit more work over the movement and the shadows in the wedge part of the shoe and the front of the shoe, but I've just run out of time, so I wanted to get the video finished and get it up. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you haven't seen the palette video yet, you can go back and check that out, and it explains all the colours and has all the links. I'm still working on the Galaxy video, and I am still working on the 12 Matryoshkas of Christmas, so that will be coming, but I'm just kind of gonna see how that unfolds a bit more naturally, and what other videos I can do if I need to do something in between that is a little bit quicker. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.